Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the Bullpen. I'm your host, Adam the Bull, and this is my latest podcast, courtesy of the Bet Rivers Network. Coming up today, I go around the NFL. It's week number 10. We'll give you all the picks, including some best bets for week number 10 in the NFL. A lot of action this week. Last week was a Buy-Mageddon. Buy-Mageddon? Yeah, Buy-Mageddon. This week, everybody's back. We'll give you the latest lines on the Bet Rivers Sportsbook and make all the picks. But we're going to begin with the latest on the Browns. Where are they on the offensive line? Who practiced and who didn't on Thursday? That's all coming up on the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the Bet Rivers Network.
So, as we all know, the Browns have a huge game this Sunday against the Ravens. And if the Browns want to have a realistic chance of winning the division, not making the playoffs, because they could lose this game and still make the playoffs. But if they want to have a realistic chance of winning the AFC North for the first time in forever, they need to win this game. The Browns begin action this week, a game and a half, like everybody else in the AFC North, a game and a half behind the Ravens. The Ravens own the tiebreaker, of course, because the Ravens beat the Browns. If the Ravens win this game, the Browns would be 2.5 back and would have been swept by the Ravens. The odds of them finishing with a better record than the Ravens if they lose this game are not impossible, but certainly very slim. On the other hand, if the Browns win, well, now they're 6-3. The Ravens are 7-3. So now you're a half game back. And now you go to division record because your head-to-head's 1-1. In the division, you'd both be 2-2. I think the next tiebreaker is the conference. And for the moment, the Browns would be 4-2 and the Ravens would be 4-3. I believe that's I can't remember next if it's conference or strength of victory, or I don't remember off the top of my head, actually, but it really doesn't matter at this point of the season because we're only at the halfway point. The point is, it's a massive difference. The Browns win this game. They've got a very reasonable shot at winning the division. Still not the favorites, but very reasonable. They lose this game, their chances of winning the division go to probably less than 10%. So you're talking maybe 40% or 5% chance of winning the division based on a win or loss in this game. That's how big it is. And the Browns are going to go into this game with Deshaun Watson, in theory, as healthy as he's been since the Titans game. He made it through Sunday against the Cardinals healthy, and he seemed to be fine following practice last week. Following the game last week. He's been able to practice this week, have a normal week for the first time in a while. Seemed to work off the rust in the first half where he didn't play well, where he played better in the second half. And so that gives the Browns a really good shot, right? They're healthy on defense, pretty much. Unfortunately, though, the Browns do have a big issue at offensive tackle. But how big an issue is it? Jedrick Wills, the much maligned by me and others left tackle who played better lately, is on the injured reserve, went on injured reserve this week, and he will obviously not play this Sunday. On top of that, the second-string right tackle, who's played like a first-string right tackle, DeJuan Jones, has not practiced yet this week. Mary Kay Cabot tweeted earlier today that DeJuan was on the bike. No practice, just on the bikes, along with David Bell, who also missed yesterday's or last week's game. So if DeJuan Jones can't play, well, what happens next? And if DeJuan Jones can't play, then you're talking about your starting tackles are the guys who were your fourth and fifth tackles. I say when the season started, I kind of want to say that, but it's not really because they brought in some new guys since. So who's there? Who would possibly be starting at the tackle positions? So today in practice, according to Jason Lloyd of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and The Athletic, Jason texted earlier and he said that Garyon I don't even know how I'd never heard of this guy before, to be honest. He was an unrestricted free agent. Signed since the season started. Garon Christian is the guy who was practicing at left tackle today. Yeah, let's do some due diligence, shall we? Let's do it together on Garon Christian. I don't even know if he's played a game in the league. I don't think he has. So Garon Christian, who again was, remember, even if DeJuan Jones plays, they still need somebody to play left tackle. The thought was it would be James Hudson, but James Hudson was not at left tackle today. And a bad job out of me. Garon Christian has played. I said he hasn't played. That's because I spelled his name wrong. Garon Christian, it was actually a third-round pick of Washington back in 2018. He's 27 years old, and he's actually played some in the league. Not much recently. He played one game, came off the bench, played one game for the Texans earlier this season. Was a backup in Kansas City last year. He actually started some games for both Houston and Washington in 2020 and 21. So, okay, so the guy's played in the league a little bit. I'm not going to be a phony. I never heard of the guy. He was so far down the Browns depth chart, they didn't even have him until a few weeks ago. So James Hudson apparently has been passed over, or potentially passed over. Alex Leatherwood, the former first-round pick of the Niners, who the Browns brought into their practice squad before the season, has apparently been – I mean, that guy was a total bust in San Francisco, and obviously he hasn't impressed here. But that's we could be looking at some sort of combination of Garon Christian, Leatherwood, and James Hudson. Could the Browns consider moving Joel Bitonio to left tackle and maybe starting Nick Harris at guard, Luke Whippler at guard, Luke Whippler at center, and Ethan Pocic at guard? I know this is kind of crazy, all of this, but that's the situation the Browns are in. The one thing I'll say for Christian is that at least he's played in the league some. It's Jaron. That's how you say his name. Jaron Christian. So at least he's played in the league a little bit. I mean, he started some games, so. But there's a reason he was on the open market. And it's bad enough. And I can't believe I'm saying, like, Jedrick Wills is not very good. But he's obviously better than these guys. DeJuan Jones has been really good since taking over for Jack Conklin, especially in the passing game, and he may not be able to go. So it's a big deal. Now, all that being said, when you have a good quarterback, you should be able to make up for some deficiencies on the offensive line. It's a tough matchup to do that against because you play in the Ravens. But the Browns have been very good at the screen game this year. Something that's been a weakness for the team in the past. It's been a strength so far this season. We saw Deshaun Watson throw deep a number of times in the second half against Arizona last week. If Jaron Christian and James Hudson are your starting tackles, well, you're not going to probably not have time to get the ball downfield. So the Browns are almost trying out a bunch of guys at these spots. Now, hopefully, by the time it's game day, that at least DeJuan Jones could play. But if he doesn't practice on Friday, it gets tricky. They also have another guy, another tackle named Leroy Watson. I'd never heard of him either. So that's how far down the depth chart we are when it comes to the Browns right now. Other injury stuff. David Bell, I mentioned, he missed last week's game. He is also was on the bikes today. Marquise Goodwin in the concussion protocol, hasn't been working with the team at all. So obviously it's unlikely he's going to play. So at wide receiver, you're down to, beyond Amari Cooper, you've got Elijah Moore, obviously. And you are very thin on the depth chart at wide receiver too. Cedric Tillman's going to be your third wide receiver. Obviously, he hasn't done anything so far. And then the only other wide receiver they have not on the practice squad is James Prochet, who did a nice job. He just joined the team 2 weeks ago, and he, obviously did a good job punt returns last week, and he'll be the punt returner. But they might need to use him as a receiver too, because you only have 6 receivers on the roster, and 2 may not play. It's not looking good for either Bell or Goodwin to play this week. So, and despite all of that, despite all the talk of the tackles and the thinness of the wide receiving core, there was some good news. Greg Newsome, Pierre Strong, David Njoku, all back at practice today after sitting out yesterday. Newsome obviously missed the game last week. Pierre Strong didn't play much. David Njoku obviously is an important piece to what the Browns do. He's been playing very well. Maybe his best football last month of his career. And so hopefully they'll have all those guys back. Newsome is a slot corner. And then Pierre Strong in the mix. I've been saying for weeks, obviously, I'd like to see more of Pierre Strong. Who knows? The Browns, in terms of Greg Newsome, remember the rookie Cameron Mitchell, he played last week. He was the slot corner. He was the third guy. And then he got hurt. So he's out for this game. So it would be nice to have Greg Newsome back. By the way, other positions of note that you have on the practice squad, in addition to Alex Leatherwood, the Browns have one more offensive lineman on the practice squad. They have a guy named Justin Murray. In terms of wide receiver, 3 guys on the practice squad: Trinity Benson, Jalen Darden. We saw at training camp, and Austin Watkins Jr. the same. They also have Kenyon Drake, who I wonder if at some point maybe he gets some opportunity, and John Kelly, who has been with them the last bunch of years in training camp. A couple of running backs on the practice squad as well. But despite some concerns, and I have some real concerns, obviously, about tackle, especially left tackle, and wide receiver depth, in the end, I think the Browns are going to win this game. What do you think of that? You probably thought I was trending towards the Browns losing this game. I think this Browns team has something that many Browns teams have not had in the past. They got guts. They got toughness. And they got fight in them. And you know what else they got? They got humiliated by the Ravens when they played them in week 4. And that was a situation where they thought Watson was going to play all week, and then DTR started. It was a total disaster, and both sides of the ball played poorly. I think the Browns are going to come into this game going to Baltimore with all the humiliation they have suffered at the hands of this franchise time and time again. I think the defense is going to play with their hair on fire. Remember, despite all the injuries on offense, the defense is very healthy. Greg Newsome is the only guy that's missed time of significance, and he's probably going to be back this week. I assume since he practiced today, he's in good shape to come back. Don't know that for sure. I think the defense and the Ravens offense, listen, Lamar's having a really good season, but their ability to score has been up and down at times. Like, they look great against Seattle and Detroit. But the offense was not good against Pittsburgh. It was not good against Indianapolis. So it's been up and down. And the Browns want to prove that they're the best defense in the NFL and that it's not the Ravens, because these two are head and shoulders above everybody else. So that will transition us to the picks. The Browns in this game are no, that's the Steelers next week. How did I get there? All right, there we go. The Browns were 6.5-point dog in this game. Love them plus 6.5. Like them to win. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, like weirdly low. 13-10, 16-13, 10-9. I mean, some crazy, wacky game. I think it's going to be very low-scoring. I think both teams are going to have a hard time moving the ball. I think the Browns will do just enough. I think Watson will play a decent game. Decent. And I love the Browns to cover. I like them to win. I'm laying the 6.5, but I think the Browns are going to win. Again, I'll call the score 16-12. How about that? How about that? All right, let's give you a rapid fire the rest of the games this week. AFC North rivals. Bengals hosting the Texans. Big storyline here. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both banged up for the Bengals. T. Higgins tweaked a hamstring in practice. Jamar Chase, if you were watching Sunday Night Football, took a hard fall on his back. Apparently, it's just a bruise, and he's okay, but it's a lot of pain. My gut tells me Chase plays, Higgins does not. Either way, I like the Bengals in this one. Obviously, the Texans are playing very well. Both teams are hot offensively, but the Texans' defense is much worse than the Bengals. The Texans don't have a running game either, which makes them a little one-dimensional. Love C.J. Stroud. Love everything he's doing, but I'm going to lay the 6.5 with the Bengals. This Packers-Steeler game makes me a little nervous. I'm leaning towards the Packers. I'm hoping my hatred of the Steelers is not blinding me. I think this is another low-scoring game like we will see with the Browns and the Ravens. The Steelers don't blow anybody out. I think it stays close. I got it at 3.5 on Bet Rivers. It may move a little bit, but at 3.5, I like the Packers. Even at 3, I like the Packers because I think it's going to be a field goal game. At worst, I get a push. But I'm gonna take the 3.5 with the Packers against the Steelers. Other games outside of the division: Lions at the Chargers. That's a 4:00 game on Sunday. Lions are 3-point road favorite. Love the Lions in this one. Coming off a bye, they had their clunker already against Baltimore. I don't like the way the Chargers are playing. Austin Eckler looks like he's going down the tubes. They've lost 2 wide receivers, the Cardinals, in Mike Williams and Palmer. Now Palmer's out after Williams had gone down for the season. Justin Herbert has not played great. I think the Lions come out firing off their bye. I like the Lions -3. Falcons and Cardinals. This game is just disgusting. Kyler Murray's coming back for the Cardinals, so it's a tricky one to predict. They were so bad last week against the Browns. Falcons have a decent defense. I don't like the Falcons coach. I don't know. He's clueless. Do they get some inspiration from Kyler Murray playing, or is he so rusty he's terrible? I hate this game. It's a stay away, but I pick every game. I'll lay the 1.5 with the Falcons. I think ultimately they're a decent team, and the Cardinals stink. I think Kyler Murray's going to be rusty. He hasn't played in a year. Saints-Vikings, 1:00 Sunday. Vikings at home. They're getting 3 with Joshua Dobbs, the starting quarterback this week. Derek Carr's played better for the Saints. Their defense has been really good. I'll lay the 3 with the Saints in that one. Niners-Jaguars. How about this game? The Niners started 5-0. They've dropped 3 in a row. Their left tackle's been banged up. Brock Purdy's been turning the ball over after he had no turnovers. The Jags have won 6 in a row. This is a really tough one. I'm actually going to take the Niners. I feel like the Jags are due for a loss. They've won a lot of close games. The Niners are way too good to lose 4 in a row. I mean, it's crazy enough they lost 3 in a row, but they're way too good to lose 4 in a row. Coming off a bye, I'll take the Niners -3. Titans at Buccaneers. Buccaneers are 1-point favorite at home. I'm high on Will Levis. I love what I've seen from him for 2 weeks. Buccaneers have no defense. I like the Titans to win this game. Even though the Bucs, I'll give Baker's credit. Baker's played pretty well. Played decent football, but I like the Titans. Bucs defense stinks. Sunday morning game in Germany. Patriots getting 2 against the Colts. Patriots technically the home team, but it's on neutral field. Colts are a decent team. Patriots stink. I'll lay the 2 with the Colts. Let's see. Giants at Cowboys. I got this in our best bets at 16.5. It's now up to 17 at Bet Rivers. 17. By far the biggest spread of the year. Again, this would be a stay away if I had to, but since I do, and the Giants are going with a practice squad quarterback who's terrible, I'll lay the 17 with the Cowboys. Even the Cowboys can't screw this one up, right? I don't know. Maybe they can. Commanders at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are really scuffling offensively. Geno Smith had his big breakout year last year, but kind of quietly, he's not playing well. I don't know if it's quiet or not. I've watched him play a bunch because I got him in one of my fantasy teams, and he's just not been good. That being said, Washington has not been great either, but they've been competitive. They traded away a couple of guys. I like Washington to keep it close. I think Seattle wins a close game. I'll take the 6.5 with Washington. Jets a 1-point favorite at the Raiders. I'm taking the Raiders. Love what I saw from them last week. I'm not a believer in the Jets. Zach Wilson stinks. The Raiders have something going. They got that new coach bump. They played well at home. They're 3-1. I'll take a point on the road. And they give you the Monday night game, Broncos-Bills. The night games. It's terrible. Who wants to watch Jets, Raiders? Who wants to watch Broncos, Bills? These are awful games. But anyway, there you go. Those are the picks. Get extra value this football season with Bet River Squares. Win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. Make sure you subscribe to the Bet River Sports Network on YouTube and also to my show, The Bullpen with Adam the Bull. Subscribe on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Pods. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. You'll get alerts whenever I'm putting out a new podcast. All right. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Brian Monzo for producing as always. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here, The Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.